Okay, thank you. Good evening, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to the Board of Selectmen's virtual meeting of August 19th, 2020. I'm going to start the meeting with a preamble here that we do for these meetings. Good evening. As Chairman of the Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen, I am declaring that an emergency exists and I am invoking the provisions of RSA 91A2:2-3B. Federal, state, local officials have determined the gatherings of 10 or more people pose a substantial risk to our community in its continuing efforts to combat the spread of COVID-19. In concurring with their determination, I also find that this meeting is imperative to the continued operation of town government and services, which are vital to public safety and confidence during this emergency. As such, this meeting will be conducted without a quorum of this body physically present in the same location. At this time, I also welcome members of the public accessing this meeting remotely. Even though this meeting is being conducted in a unique manner under unusual circumstances, the usual rules of conduct and decorum apply. Any person found to be disrupting this meeting will be asked to cease the disruption. Should the disruptive behavior continue thereafter, that person will be removed from this meeting. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. We'll start by taking a roll call attendance. Linda Murray?
I'm here alone in a room in my house.
Thank you. Dave Seneco? I think you're muted, Dave.
How's that?
Try that again.
Better?
That's better.
Okay. I'm home alone, except for Abby. She might trot through here once in a while.
Okay. Dave Bowers.
I'm here. Christy's running out of the room right now.
Thank you. Paul O'Brien.
I'm here by myself. Thank you at home.
And I'm Brad Herman. I'm also at home in the room by myself this evening. Mr. Pino, do we have a need for non-public session this evening?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and Board. Yes, we do, for purposes of reviewing non-public minutes.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is going to be consideration of minutes of August 5th, 2020. Do we have any comments or corrections we'd like to make to these? Paul.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 10, kind of a benign one, but on the top of page 10, the first word, the first paragraph says Chamberlain O'Brien. And I think I think it should be Michelle O'Brien. No, it should be Mr. O'Brien or whatever you want to do. Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Anybody else have anything?
No? I'll make a motion accept as amended.
Second.
We have a motion to second to accept the minutes as amended. Any discussion? Seeing none, do a roll call vote. Linda?
Yes?
Dave Seneco?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yes.
Paul O'Brien?
Yes.
And Brad Herman votes yes also. Thank you. Next on our agenda is public hearings. We have two of them this evening. Wolfeboro Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on August 19th, virtually to advise the public on the progress of the 2018 CDBG Gala feasibility study, which is required under 24 CFR 570.486 and NHRSA 162-I:14. Mr. Pino, are you going to present this to us this evening?
Actually, Mr. Chairman, Town Planner Matt Sullivan is here to discuss this topic.
Good evening, board members. Matt Sullivan, Director of Planning and Development. Here to present just briefly a preamble to a public hearing on the 2018 Gala CDBG grant that the town of Wolfeboro received and sub-granted to Gala for feasibility for site planning at their Bay Street location. As a result of that grant, the Gallo organization did secure White Mountain Survey Engineering, who later prepared a site plan application for review in front of the planning board. That approval was ultimately granted by the planning board, and therefore the deliverables required under the grant were ultimately completed. One of the somewhat odd requirements of the CDBG grant process is that the community ultimately hold a public hearing at the end of the process prior to closing of the grant. There's no specific action needed by the Board of Selectmen. This public hearing is only for the members of the public to offer questions, concerns, or comments about the grant, hopefully for a Gallo to weigh in on subsequent to this. But in the end, ultimately, all that's required is this public hearing to be held with no, again, specific action required from the Board of Selectmen directly. If you have any questions, I'm happy to try and answer them. I had understood that Josh Arnold would be present tonight. I'm not sure that he's on this evening, but I'll try to answer any questions that you might have in the interim. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Board members have any questions for Matt? No, I guess not, Matt. So thank you for the update.
Brad, could you just open the public hearing formally and give members of the public the opportunity to comment and then close that at the end? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I'll now open the public hearing for anybody in the public out here that would like to speak or comment on this or ask questions. All right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much, members of the board. Appreciate it.
Yep. Thank you, Matt. Okay, next on the agenda is the second public hearing. Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020, virtually via GoToMeeting platform. The GoToMeeting access code number 447-550-261, or via telephone, you can call in at 1-786-535-3211. Enter access code 447-550-261. Enter your PIN if you have one, or press hashtag for acceptance of unanticipated funds for the amount awarded is less than $5,000 in accordance with RSA 31:95-B, relative to a donation to the Parks and Recreation Department from JMS Roofing to replace the dugout roofs at Fossfield, 88 Lena Street. We have, is Christine or somebody going to present this? Or are you going to present this, Mr. Pinio?
Mr. Chairman, I thought Christine would be here. This is pretty straightforward. The dugouts at Fossfield, the roofs are in pretty rough shape. There's been a individual coming forward, a business coming forward that's willing to go ahead and put a new roof on the facility. Seems like it's a win-win for everybody, and it'll help us to take care of that facility for years to come.
Great. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I'll just put into the record here that JMS Roofing, they have their estimate here for what they're donating to us. And it comes up to a value, an estimated value right now is $1,602.83 to supply the materials and the labor to put these new roofs on. So I'd like to thank JMS Roofing very, very much for their donation here. At this time, I'll open the public hearing to anybody out there that would like to ask questions or comment.
Yeah, Brad.
Yes, Dave Senical?
Yeah, I thought that this estimate and everything was very well done. I think it's very nicely done, very explanatory. I thought it was well done. I thank him for that.
Yep. Thank you. Dave Bowers? I think you're muted, Dave. We can't hear you.
Why don't you have Amy sign a letter, create a letter of appreciation from the Board of Selectmen that we can send for this donation?
Okay. I think we could probably arrange that.
We can absolutely take care of that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. We still have the public hearing open. Is there anybody out there in the audience that would like to comment or ask questions? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. Board members, do we have a motion here? I think we could, it was given to us, we could use to accept these funds.
Chairman, I'll make a
I would-
motion. Birthday Dave, go ahead.
I'll second whatever you say. How's that?
All right. Make a motion that we wish Dave a happy birthday. No, that's a different one. I move, Mr. Chairman, to accept the unanticipated funds valued at $1,602.83 in accordance with RSA 31:95 relative to a donation to the Parks and Recreation Department from JMS Roofing to replace the dugout roofs at Foss Field located at 88 Lerner Street.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for this donation. Do we have any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman votes yes also. Thank you very much, and thank you, Jake from JMS Roofing.
Awesome.
Next on our agenda is public input. We have limited to 3 minutes per person, not to exceed 15 minutes total. Do we have anybody out there that would like to have a public input with us? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is our bulk vote, which includes weekly manifests of August 7th and 14th. Intent to cut timber up on Cowper Road. That's it for tonight. So I'd entertain a motion for the bulk vote.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second to accept the bulk vote as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman votes yes also. Okay, our agenda next has board appointments, which we don't have any this evening. And under new business, we have a proclamation from Winnipesaukee Daughters of the American Revolution. What I will do is, board members, if you'd like, I'll read the proclamation in to the record here, which I think is something that we usually do, and we'll go from there. So this proclamation reads as follows. Whereas September 17th, 2020 marks the 233rd anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America by the Constitutional Convention, and whereas it is fitting and proper to accord official recognition to this magnificent document and its memorable anniversary, and to the patriotic celebrations which will commemorate the occasion, and whereas Public Law 915 guarantees the issuing of a proclamation each year by the President of the United States of America designating September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week. Now, therefore, we, Brad Harriman, Paul O'Brien, Linda T. Murray, David Senical, and Q. David Bowers, by virtue of the authority vested in us as the Board of Selectmen in the state of New Hampshire and the town of Wolfeboro, do hereby proclaim the week of September 17th through the 23rd, 2020 as Constitution Week, and ask our citizens to reaffirm the ideals of the framers of the Constitution had in 1787 by vigilantly protecting the freedoms guaranteed to us through this guardian of our liberties, remembering that lost rights may never be regained. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Wolfeboro, New Hampshire, to be affixed this 19th day of August of the year of our Lord 2020. Actually, I want to jump a little ahead. Was Nancy going to speak to us this evening on this at all, or?
I don't see.
I'm
her.
not sure if she was actually gonna come to the meeting, Brad.
Roll call.
All right, thank you. Do
Welcome.
we have any comments from the board on this? Comments or questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the proclamation.
So moved.
I'll
Second,
second it.
Okay, a motion and a second to approve the proclamation, Winnipesaukee Daughters of American Revolution, as was just read. We'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
yes,
Dave Bowers,
Yes.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
and Brad Harriman votes yes also. All right, thank you. That's done, that's done. Okay. I see Josh has joined us here now. Josh, we've already been through your presentation. Matt did a marvelous job for us here for you.
Oh my god. I think okay. I'm sorry about that.
All
It
right.
really made you look good, Josh. I'll tell you, it made you look.
I probably shouldn't even log in. Okay. Are there any questions now for me? Probably not.
Josh, you owe me.
Oh my god. Okay. It's Ren's birthday, so we just wrapped up a little watermelon cake and. All right. Well, thanks, Matt. I do owe you. Thanks, everybody. If you have any questions, you can email me. But it's moving
Okay.
right along. Things are moving along.
thanks,
Good to
Josh.
hear. Thanks, Josh.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, next on our agenda is a discussion of temporary event permits for pickleball. This is a revisit from last month. We have two permits for the Level Up Pickleball Camp and one for Mr. Santoro's group, which also runs over a weekend. Do we have somebody here to speak to us about this?
Mr. Chairman, I believe Christine is here now. She will be able to speak to this on the town's behalf.
Okay.
Maybe. Oh. Hi,
he's having,
sorry,
okay.
having technical difficulties tonight. Okay, here we go. All right, so we
There you
were
are.
just, I'm sorry, Amy, you got it? Okay. We were just revisiting this due to one new governor's orders coming out of anyone, if there's more than 100 people having masks. Originally, when we got the permit, we were unsure how many people were attending. We then were able to obtain records, which when we saw the records, it was over 119 people. Through email, we've talked to Joe Santoro. He has informed me, I think it's down to 60 now, just because of their COVID-19 policy and then what we put in place as well. So I looked over theirs. It looks good. I think with ours, Joe Santoro is in charge of the tournament. He doesn't see a problem with it. His only question was, now they're going to have under 100 people, so there will be 60 people. And he was curious as would we still make them wear masks if it was only 60? I did have a conversation with Jim Pinio today, and I think we both agree that we think it would be important for them to wear it when they're not playing. So if they're off the court, then they should have masks on, just because that is a big area that also has the fields, the walkway, and the basketball courts are down there. So there could be other people around the area. So we think it would be important if they weren't wearing a mask, wear a mask when they're off the court, but when they're on the court, they would not need to wear a mask. And I think that's about it. I mean, it seems to be in line with everything we've put in there.
Yeah, it seemed as though he was pretty agreeable to go along with whatever recommendations that we came up with and stuff. So I thought that was good. Linda?
I'm assuming that what we are going to put in place is the Park and Rec COVID-19 health and safety protocol as written and given to us tonight. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah, I thought that was done very well. I really like the fact that we were going to put some round spots out on the field so people knew where their 6 feet. I thought it was very well done. I have no problem with our protocol if he's willing to follow that.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Okay, and I think the same goes toward the camp also, doesn't it, Christine? The same criteria and everything?
Yes, that actually has a lot less people. I'm not sure if Amy has heard back from them. I think they weren't at the limit they wanted, and I think they at least needed 10 to run the program, but they came up with the plan as well, and we'll implement our plan with them, share it with them as well. I think we might have already sent them a copy. If not, we will follow up with them.
All right, sounds good. Okay, so I guess we don't really need anything from the board. This is more of an update to us information-wise. Is that correct?
You don't want us to approve the proposal or the protocols?
Yeah, I think we should.
I
Agree
do
with you,
too.
Linda.
Yeah, I would feel much more comfortable if the board did.
I'll make a motion that we approve the Park and Recreation COVID-19 Health and Safety Protocol 2020 for the Lakes Region Pickleball Tournament.
Second.
Second.
Okay, well, motion and a second. Do we have any discussion on this? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes?
Dave Senico,
Yes.
Dave Bowers,
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien,
Yes.
and Brad Hammer votes yes also. All right. So we've done that one. Next discussion item is going to be the Pop Whalen reopening plan.
So, Mr. Chairman, Christine and I have had some conversations regarding this. Obviously, there's a lot of publicity in the news right now regarding what's occurred in the southern part of our state at another ice arena. Christine's put a protocol in place that is in line with the governor's orders. I think the thing that we've got to be extremely cautious of, this is going to end up having a very, very tight leash on it. If we begin to observe any types of cases, then, we're going to have to make that conscious decision whether or not to shut down the arena. The other conversation that Christine and I had today was time frame of opening the arena. There's a push to get it open early in October, but we're gonna monitor it and see what happens. Right now we don't know what the ice usage is going to look like based on some teams. So we've got a lot of variables out there, and the opening of that facility is labor and financially intensive, especially opening that early in the year while it's still rather warm. With that said, I'd like to hand it over to Christine to discuss the proposal that they've built. Christine?
Thank you. So like Jim said, we are waiting for a couple of users to get back to us. Decisions still haven't been made on that side. But when those decisions come down, the reason why it could be, we know that people want the ice, but the issue is going to be with having the protocols in place. We're having a half an hour window in between users of the ice. So keeping that in mind, it will limit how much ice is available, because we do have some younger youth teams that aren't going to go play until 10 o'clock at night. So we are looking at that. Right now we have most users scheduled, so we're trying to play around with that. Justin's on vacation this week, but when he gets back, we're really gonna hash it out to see what that looks like. And then we're trying to stay very close up to date with what's going on in the news. And we have a rink association that we're part of. So listening to what they're doing, seeing what the other municipality rinks are doing. Some of them are starting with a soft opening. I think you'll see in our protocol, even for public skate, we're doing reservations in the beginning, no drop-ins. So we're kind of opening slowly, starting off a little strict. And then if we find that it's too much time and we can get everything we need to get done, then we will lessen that time. But we think we should start off a little bit strict to be on top of everything, to make sure we have the time we need to keep everyone safe. And then if we find that we're on top of it and we don't need that much time, then we can scale it back a little bit. We did go into the lobby and we're kind of looking at, because we do have 2 entrances to the facility, having it, if they come in that front door, automatically the children or teams that are playing would go to the right of the facility, and then go right onto the ice, put their skates on and go right onto the ice. And then we have that capability of making the side door an exit only. So we're still playing around with some of that just to see what that looks like. But for the most part, I think we've covered everything. We kind of looked at the rink guidelines for the state, what they're doing for that, the association, and then what other rinks are doing to kind of get a good handle on it. I did hear from a patron who plays at our facility that actually was just at a tournament in Waterville Valley and kind of has the same model that we have in place that we're setting up. And he said it worked brilliantly, like checking people at the door. They were in, they came pretty much dressed to play, were on the ice for their time, and then quickly scooted out of the building. So it is a different model than what we're used to. We have a lot of people who usually hang around at the rink. So this will be definitely interesting to try. So that's why we want to have that half an hour window in between users, just so we can make sure everyone is able to shuffle out and then shuffle in and give us enough time to clean in between. Are there any questions on it that you saw? Yes. Oh, sorry, I don't call you.
Okay, thank you, Christine. Do we have any questions or comments from the board?
I have a question.
Paul?
Yeah, thanks for this, Christine. Again, a nice piece of work. Are you gonna take temperatures when folks come in the building?
Yes, we actually do have thermometers, and we're going to have someone by the front door that they will be checking temperatures before they come into the building.
And maybe I missed it because I didn't read it as carefully as you've written it, but where in this document is that?
Or 2/3 of the way down on the
First
second page.
Second page?
Yeah, all patrons will have their temperature taken before they can enter the facility.
My
Right
bad for not
after
reading
number
it.
3.
Yep,
Okay.
my bad for not reading it. And the second question, if I could, and then I'll go quiet. So you did attach to this document the Exeter situation, and I just recently saw, literally this afternoon, this Exeter situation is escalating. What have we learned from that, and what modifications are in this piece of paper in terms of we've learned something and we're moderating our document?
I think our document already kind of said no tournaments to begin with, so they had tournaments in there. So I think we already kind of covered that. But I think we're still checking out the situation to see, like, I'm still looking at everything. And because it's coming down the pipeline, just seeing what, if anything, we need to tweak. To be honest with you, it's only August. There's still so much time before we're opening the rink. So I feel like this could change. We might have to alter depending on what else is happening. I know, for instance, one of our patrons groups, that a user that's going to be using, they will not be having anyone in the rink when they're in there. They don't want any spectators or anything. And not that it's a beauty of it, but last year we actually worked with a company called Live Barn. So we installed a camera on the ice. So the beauty is, if you see in this document, people can actually sign up for this service, and they won't even have to come to the rink. They can see everything that's happening on the ice. So that's kind of a good thing, just because, you know, people don't want to miss out on seeing it, but they can watch it from their home. So it won't really impact the spectators too much if they sign up for that.
Thank you, Christine.
Linda?
Yeah, I think you did an excellent job, Christine. I did send you some emails to tell you some of the areas that I'm concerned about. First of all, my grandson plays back bay hockey. If we don't open, they're going up to Ham. They're going to go up to Ham before we start. So they're going to find another way to play. When I went through here, I felt that for practices, it was pretty clear. They were going to come in, we were going to do all the protocols. They were going to come in fully dressed. They were going to put their skates on. You were going to have round discs on the benches where they could sit down. And then they went on to the ice. That they wore masks until they got on the ice. And during practice, as best as they could, they tried to keep social distancing. I saw no issue with opening up. And I would kind of say phase 1 is opening up for practice. Phase 2, when you get into games and you get into the size of our locker rooms, how many locker rooms we have, I start questioning whether we have the capacity to allow them to use locker rooms. I did your statistics in the back, and if you have 6 people, where's the guide? So if you had 12 on the team, you have them 3 feet apart. Any high school team is going to have more than 12 players. So 18 players, they're 1.5 feet apart. They're packed in there. And I think that I don't know how you get around that, or whether you put them in 2 locker rooms, but then what do you do with the other team? One of the things, my middle grandson played soccer, and they did some adaptation. They do not have a halftime. They play 2 20-minute halftime, and that's it. They don't stop other than to change sides. And instead of them doing throw-ins with the balls, because they don't want them to touch balls, they just don't do any throw-ins. And the kids were told, if you don't wear your mask coming to the field and when you're on the field, other than playing, we're going to stop this whole thing down, shut this whole thing down. So I wonder whether there can be any adaptation in terms of whether they play 2 halves, not do 3 periods, to try to get away from that congestion in a locker room. You know, a high school team is going to have 18 to 20 players. How can you possibly put them in one of those locker rooms and even get close to it? So I was hoping that we could agree to phase 1, go back and look at phase 2 and how we would deal with games and get our locker room in space. And then phase 3 would be a tournament if we felt we were there. So we kind of phase what is happening here. And I don't know how people feel about that.
Yeah, that sounds good, because actually in the beginning there are no games, so that's something we have to look at. I know that we did look at it because Justin helped prepare this, and when I talked to him, I was like, well, it's interesting. We're not letting them use locker rooms for practices, but we're letting them use them for games. I did respond to your email. Did you get it?
Yes, I did, and I just,
Yes.
I still.
So the reason why they need the locker rooms for the games, yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah. So
why
the hard thing is they need the locker rooms for the games because they have the cut and the ice. So we have to put them somewhere. So ultimately, it might be maybe we don't have the locker room space. Maybe we have the lobby that is for the players, and we have 2 locker rooms plus the lobby, and maybe there are no patrons. So we really are. My staff and I are examining our rink to see like where we have space that we could divide them up a little bit, but that is going to be the struggle because we have so many players on a team. And then if we have to get them all off the ice so we can clean the ice, how do we keep them all safe with the distance? So we are looking at that now, what that looks like. And to be honest, with 1 patron, it won't matter because they're not having any spectators. So they could come off the ice and we could divide them into the lobby and into the 2 locker rooms. That wouldn't be a big deal. But for other ones, it would be a bigger deal. So we have to figure that out. So the good news is we still have time because we're starting off with just practice. We are currently looking at that situation because I did see your questions and we tried to answer them the best we could, but you're right. We have to figure it out before it happens.
And do we have to clean between periods? Do we have to clean that ice? Can we just have them switch sides and go on. That's what soccer did. And I don't know how badly high
Yes.
school, I mean, the younger kids
So
definitely.
unfortunately, I mean, in some instances,
I think you're frozen.
okay.
He's gone to
Unfortunately, in some instances for the high school teams, you do have to clean in between because they really tear up the ice, which puts big divots in it, and it is a safety hazard.
So here's my other one. We have a policy that says you must wear a mask when you're not on the ice. Are they going to wear a mask in the box? The team boxes? They're going to take off their helmets, flip them up, and put their masks on. So I think we haven't. My point here is I don't think we've fully developed the game. I think the practice is there. I would like to see us keep on working on the dynamics of running a game and how we'll deal with spectators and where we'll put them.
Hold on. Are they wearing a mask inside? Yes.
But in their box.
When they come off the ice, when
The
the
ice.
shift
I'm
is
coming off
over.
the ice. It says when I'm off the ice, I have to put a mask on. Are we expecting them to come off the ice, flip their head? Or we have to write it saying that they don't need it on the ice or when they're in their box, their team box. But then again, these guys are going to be right up against each other. So I think there's just needs to be more clarity on what we're saying when we come to the game.
One of the items that Christine and I had talked about earlier today, and I know this is a financial impact, and after we discussed it, I looked it up. I'm hoping that a lot of parents who send their children to play hockey will actually use the full face plexiglass face masks versus just the mesh ones. That'll probably help to alleviate some of these problems as well. Granted, it's not an N95 mask, but it certainly would reduce the exposure.
And I agree with you. We thought of that about our grandson, but I am sure there's going to be shortages of those because they're making the shields and not the mask. That's the company. We're hoping we can find one of the older boys' masks for the younger one. But I agree, that would be good if we could get as many as we could to use those plastic ones.
So the questions I think that Linda asked are all good questions. One is, well, the first is if you have a high school hockey team, you probably do have 18, maybe even a few more depending upon league requirements. You want to have 3 lines of hockey. Each shift runs 40 seconds, 45 seconds. They're coming off the ice tired and breathing heavy. Do we think that they should pull the lid off, stick a mask on? That's the first question. Or do we want them to go someplace else? Running continuous clock. I mean, I think we'd have to depend upon the people who run hockey. You know, skating a team with continuous clock, setting aside cleaning the ice. They'll all be crawling by the second period because it's tough to do. But it's a question to be asked. I think that's a fair question. I share Linda's concern about putting people in boxes, locker rooms. I just share their concern. Whether we clean them, unclean them, putting people in a box runs the risk of what we hear about is saturation, and saturation is something that we're all learning about is probably not the place you want to be. You don't want to be in a saturated environment. Having said all of that, we got time, as you're saying, and we learn from others who go before us, and hopefully learn from either their mistakes or their successes.
Yeah, it sounds like they've made a real good start on this. I think in preparing this, Christine, I think you've done a great job here, and I think Linda and Paul surmised there that we're on the right track. We got through the practice part, but I think we need to do a little bit more work on the game situations that are coming up, and come back to us with a policy once you get that, get that ironed out, and I'm sure you guys will have it done well before the games will start and stuff.
It's great to have
take a look at that and move forward.
Real-time experience. It's really great. It's great to have Linda there, who's been there and done it. Right? It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
Thank you, Christine.
Do you want
Anything else?
us to move that we approve the Christine's practice protocols as phase one of the opening of Pop Whalen, and then we take care of that part of it?
Yes, I think that'd be very appropriate.
So moved.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes?
Dave Senical? Dave Senical? I think I did I hear a yes there. It kind of broke up. Dave Bowers?
Yep.
Paul O'Brien?
Yes,
And Brad Harrell votes yes also.
thank you.
All right, thank you, Christine.
Thanks, CC.
Thank you.
Okay, next on our agenda is a approval for the Libby Museum 2020 CIP process. As we met as trustees a while ago, we kind of talked about authorizing Jim and Katrina to speak on behalf of the Libby Museum for the CIP. So do we want to have any more discussion about that and then get into a motion?
Well, I'll put the
Some
motion
boards-
on the table and we can chat about it. How's that? I move that we authorize the town manager and the interim Libby Museum director to speak on behalf of the Libby Museum for the 2020 capital improvement process.
Second.
A motion is second on the floor. Now, any discussion? Seeing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes?
Dave Senical,
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien?
Yes.
And Brad Harriman votes yes. All right, thank you. Next on our agenda is other business. Do you have any other business to discuss tonight?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Paul.
I have some other business. For those of us who are both trustees of Libby as well as members of the Board of Selectmen, we've heard many times, that the exhibits, the artifacts, the collection is at risk. Mold and environmental issues. And we heard it again at our last trustees meeting from the team. And so I'd like to make a motion, put it on the table and have a discussion about it and see where we go. So if it's okay, Mr. Chairman, could I put a motion on the table?
Certainly.
Thank you. So I'd like to move that the town manager or his designee at the end of this exhibit season, which is estimated to be October 12th of 2020, ensure that all loaned exhibits and artifacts are returned to their owners within 2 weeks of closing, and that any remaining artifacts and exhibits owned by the Libby trustees -- board town of Wolfeboro and deemed by the town manager as critical to protect from environmental damage be professionally crated, removed, and stored off-site until such a time as the town manager approves their return to the museum.
I'll second that.
Okay, motion is second on the floor. Any discussion? Dave Bowers.
I think we need to find the cost of doing that.
Linda?
It's always bothered me that we have been told that these exhibits were being affected by the lack of a good air quality and the moisture in the building. And I gotta agree with Paul. I think at some point we need to step forward and preserve what's there. And it makes sense to me that by putting them, creating them, and putting them in an environment that stops them from deteriorating makes sense. Understanding there may be some in there we can't move because of their size or condition. But there are some that if we could get them out and store them, I think it would preserve what we have there. in terms of exhibits.
And I agree with Mr. Bowers that knowing the number is an important thing. The question will always be that museum artifacts are normally deemed to be priceless. And so if we have those things and we think they are priceless, then we need to understand what the costs are. We can always amend and say, we don't want to do it. But I just think my personal opinion is I want to move this ball forward. I want to take an action to, I don't want to use the word save, to protect those things that we've been told are imperiled.
Dave Senical?
Yeah, I think we know we probably need some kind of inventory as to what the director feels are the things that need. And again, some of them may not be able to be crated and moved. Where do we move them to? You know, do we have space someplace in our buildings to put them? You know, those are questions that need to be answered, and I'm sure Jim knows, as the rest of us do, that budget is pretty tight to begin with. Where are we going to get the money?
Yep.
I don't disagree with what you're saying about them, but you know, we all know that we constantly look at budgets and say, oh, there's no money there for that. Where are we going to get the money from to do that? And I think we need to know those answers. I don't disagree that there are some things there that probably need to be, you know, and how soon do we think we're going to have funding to put in that kind of heat, air conditioning, dehumidification and stuff? We don't know that answer yet either.
I agree. I think those are all great. I think those are all great questions. You know, I agree. We need to do something with these exhibits before they do deteriorate more than they are now.
Sure.
And
we do have
we
a capital
might have to
reserve account that has been set up for a broad purpose. I agree with all of you guys. We need to know numbers, but the money is in a capital reserve account. And on the question of inventory, which is exactly the right question, I did the other day speak with Katrina and asked, is she beginning to conduct an inventory, or is she conducted an inventory? And the answer is yes. You know, she is saying it's probably going to take, you know, this is curation work that museum people tend to do. It's going to take a bit, but she's going to make an effort to get the inventory work done.
Yeah, Linda, I think I saw you shaking your head, and I think I know exactly why, so go ahead.
I don't think that warrant article will include us moving and crating and the way it was written.
Right.
Am I on target?
That's the thought I had too. It's at the same time you did, I think. So I think we're gonna have to look at our options, look at what money is available, and maybe might have to make a choice on how many of these we can do too. I mean, it might be, we got to make some choices as we go into this further. But I think it's worth definitely, you know, pursuing and seeing what we can do to help preserve some of these.
And I don't want to debate whether we did or do not have the right language in warrant article. I just like to double check, and I think we all want to. I'll do that myself. I want to look at the warrant article because I think we wrote it for broad purpose. But if not, then you're right. We're going to come up with what we think needs to be moved, can be moved physically, where it's going to go, how much it's going to cost. But I want to move the ball forward so that we end the conversation of we're not doing anything about the risk that we're taking with these important assets.
Any other questions or comments? Seeing none, do a roll call vote on the motion, which is to, let me see if I can remember this right, Paul, to authorize the board to
Do you want me to reread it?
come up. Yeah, why don't you say it? You said it first time. Why don't you go ahead and say it again, just to make sure we get it right.
We move that the town manager or his designee at the end of the exhibit season, October 12th, 2020, ensure that all loaned exhibits and artifacts are returned to their owners within 2 weeks of closure. and that any remaining artifacts or exhibits owned by the Libby trustees - Town of Wolfeboro and deemed by the town manager as critical to protect from environmental damage be professionally crated, removed, and stored off-site until such time as the town manager approves their return to the museum.
All right, so everybody understands the motion, so we'll do a roll call vote. Linda,
Yes,
Dave Senical,
Yes,
Dave Bowers,
Some things are on loan from the Wolfeboro Historical Society at the Clark Museum, just to let you know, okay?
okay. How do you vote on the motion, Dave?
But yes,
Okay, thank you. Paul?
Yes.
And Brad Herron votes yes also. Thank you for that.
Mr. Chairman, for giving me the time to do that. Thanks colleagues for this important support.
Okay, do we have any other business?
I do, Brad.
Okay,
And this is just really information. As a resident of Wolfeboro, I am bringing together a group of community leaders to look at ways to address childcare for single parents and working parents because of the school going into a hybrid model. And that means they're in school 2 days and they're out of school 3 days. And I've got somebody from the hospital, the Children's Center, Brewster, et cetera. And we're going to look to see if we can come up with some other kind of childcare, other than parents not being able to work or single mother who can't work. And I just wanted to let you know I was doing it. I'm doing it as an individual. If you want me to do it also as representing the Board of Selectmen, I will. If not, I just thought you should know what I was up to.
I think that's great, Lynn. I think that's great to pursue and to bring to attention, and I applaud you for that, as Paul just did. So, any other business here this evening? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to committee reports. Linda.
Alrighty, I attended a Wolfeboro Waters Committee meeting, and this afternoon I attended an assessing committee meeting, a subcommittee of the Wentworth Water. They've been getting a lot of tests done, even with COVID. They have been working hard, and we'll meet again, and there'll be a report once we're done. I also went virtually with Dave Ford to the Tufton Borough Conservation Commission meeting, where Dave did, I thought, an outstanding job explaining to the Conservation Commission our proposed application for our fluid disposal solution up at the RIB site. He had taken them to the site itself and had walked them and explained it. And they were very receptive and appreciated him coming and taking them up to the site. So
You just went silent on us, Linda.
I did. Did you hear the 2 CIP meetings? Okay,
Oh.
I had 2 CIP meetings. I attended the Chamber Executive Board meeting. The Milfoil Committee met and looked at its 2021 budget. I want to report that the chemical treatment this spring seems to be doing very well. There is no regrowth other than way up in the frog pond. So we're going to have to figure out how to get up there and deal with that. And I went to an Economic Development Committee meeting on Tuesday. That's all I have.
Thank you. Dave Senical.
yeah, I had one meeting, the Conservation Commission meeting the other day. That group does a lot of stuff. That's all I have.
Thank you, Dave. Dave Bowers.
I've been working at the Wolfeboro Historical Society on various aspects of Wolfeboro history, particularly on the regional ironworks in Gilmanton. Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Paul?
Mr. Chairman, still no word from our dear friends in Concord about our broadband work. We're now 6 weeks past their due date, so we're waiting with bated breath. We have had a cable franchise agreement meeting with the team. Two deliverables are about ready to get what I call pencils down. One is a data request we're putting to Atlantic Broadband. And second is a survey that's going to go out in the electric bills probably in the late September, early October timeframe. Mr. Sullivan is working with Brenda. We're trying to figure out how we just get that done and collate the work. Put the pencils down on both of those, and I'll bring those to this board for conversation soon. You all have shared with me a Libby trustees meeting, so we had one of those, which was, I think, good. We made some progress at that. I have also attended Wolfeboro Waters meeting with Linda, but also we visited with Alyssa. We're going to have something coming up in the Granite State News. I'm pre-announcing a scoop. We've nominated members from our different committees, including our new IT assistant, who is also a passionate Waters person. And Alyssa is going to interview them, and we'll get something out that really, for the first time, kind of announces who we are, what we're trying to accomplish, and how the citizens out there can help, which is the most important part. I attended a Wolfeboro Community TV board meeting this morning, Brad, for you. We went over the budget year to date and a few other business items, as well as taking a look at the 2021 budget. And I think that's about all I have. Oh, I've done a couple of CIP meetings with Linda. We kind of share the duty, and it's working out kind of well. And last, and Linda didn't mention it, but we did this yesterday. We literally went down and visited with Chief Scanzi. There's some new and improved information about fire trucks. And Linda and I were ready to crawl under fire trucks and look at hoses and all that stuff. But the chief spared us from that pain. And instead, we had a meeting in his office with the lieutenant. And I think we had a great conversation. I mean, we did with the fire department what we did with the Libby, you know, kind of did the 4 boxes, cut them down to 2 boxes. So I thought it was good. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Paul. Let's see, last night we had a planning board meeting. The main topic there, we had a lot merger to deal with. Thank you, Mr. O'Brien, for the work. And then we went into work session after that. We had a Friends of Living Museum meeting last week. We've been reviewing our bylaws and adjusting those. We also talked about our annual meeting, how we're going to do that this year. It will be a virtual meeting. We did come up with a date, and I can't, at the top of my head, I can't remember what it is, so I don't want to say tonight. I think I know, but I'd rather report when I actually see it in writing in front of me, which I have upstairs somewhere in my paperwork. And also last Friday, we met with Pat Waterman and Randy Walker. There's a work session regarding elections coming up in September and later on this fall in November and stuff, how we're going to deal with those and everything. So that was a very informative meeting too. So, and that does it for me. So next on the agenda is Town Manager's Report.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Few items to report. Participated in a conference call with Senator Shaheen's office regarding COVID-19 and how it's affecting communities. Pretty interesting meeting all in all. Working on budgets, right into that process. Departments are doing a nice job. Right now, it looks like we're pretty close to hitting all of the milestones to get budgets in on time and begin the review process. Parks and Rec today took delivery of their new pickup truck. which was a capital outlay item in the budget. Parks and Rec did a very nice job. I believe we had $45,000 budgeted, and I believe that came in at, it was under 30,000. So they did a heck of a job, and it's a really nice vehicle. And the only other thing that I really have to report, and everybody at this point is aware, I believe, but Mr. Sullivan, our town planner, has given us his notice. Matt is going to be going on to bigger and better things for him professionally. I can't thank Matt enough for everything he's done for the town of Wolfeboro, and for everything he's done for me as well. I'm losing a good coworker, but I think I've developed a heck of a friendship with the man. So I'm excited for Matt. I'm disappointed for Wolfeboro. With that said, that's all I have to say, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Pinion. Next on the agenda is questions from the press. Alyssa, are you out there with us this evening?
Mr. Chairman, I think Alyssa, I know Alyssa asked me to share that she will not be joining us this evening.
Okay. Thank you. Next on is our second public input, limited to 3 minutes per resident, not to exceed 15 minutes. Do we have anybody out there for the public input with us? Seeing or hearing none, I guess we'll move on to a motion to go into our non-public session this evening.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we go into non-public.
Second.
Motion and second to go into non-public. Do a roll call vote. Linda? I guess Sarah say yes. I didn't hear her, but
Yes,
thank you. Dave Senecal?
Yes.
Dave Bowers?
Yeah.
Paul O'Brien?
Yes.
And Brad Harriman votes yes also. Thank you, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.